This segment is brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights. All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Folse, and with us, we're going to have the Clerk of Court-elect. She's going to take office on December 1st, and joining us now, Miss Jodie Burton. And Jodie, good to see you.
Hi.
And congratulations.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Still all smiles. You were telling me before we got on the desk that it still hasn't sunk in.
No,
yet.
Not yet. I've just been so busy.
Yeah.
We've been working this campaign 7 days a week for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, of course, was just so busy packing everything up, and today went back to work this morning. So I haven't had time to just stop and take it in yet.
Tell you, it's a whirlwind when people get involved. And we've covered so many elections over the years. And to see someone like yourself who's been so grounded throughout life, and your family, just a good family, and you come from good people, I guess we should say.
Yes.
And you see this, and I bet at the election party too, people were switching between LSU and the coverage, right?
LSU was on in the kitchen.
Isn't that hell when you got to compete with LSU?
It was tough. Let me tell you, it was a tough competition there. But, everybody was just so supportive there. Everybody was rooting from the jump start. Let's get these results in and let's celebrate this.
Let's bring up the graphics page if we could, Jay, because there you see it, the election, Terrebonne Parish Clerk of Court. And that's, of course, with all the precincts in. Jodie, you finished with 75%, 6,695. And Jerome Zarang had 25%, 2,229 votes. So you've been there so long. You're running a race. You know there's a strong possibility you get elected at some point. You get elected. You got to go back to your same workplace. It's not like you were outsider coming in.
Right.
You go back to work. Describe that feeling to me. That's got to be a little bit different.
This morning when I walked through those doors, I've been walking in those doors for 44 years now. Yeah. And when I walked in this morning, I just had to stop and take a minute because it hit me that this is going to be me leading this office going forward, and I'm excited about it. I really am. I've been preparing for this job for 44 years. I know what I'm doing. So for me, it's going to be an easy transition because I'm already doing it today, Yeah. So, but this morning, it's like, I don't know, it was like, it just kind of all came into play with me. Like, this is really going to be me leading this place, and that's just beyond my wildest dream.
What was it like when you walked in? What were the employees doing?
They were all excited. Yes, they were all excited. We're so happy everything turned out this way. And, the best person, was, the people heard that. They saw the experience involved, and that means a lot to me coming from them because they know what it takes to operate this office. And, like I told the girls from the beginning, when I made the decision to run, I was doing it, yes, because this is something I have always wanted to do, but I was also doing it for them. We have such a fantastic group of women that work in that office that are very knowledgeable on what they're doing. They take interest in what they're doing and they want to learn more. And I want to make sure that continues, They know I've always been the type of person, if they've got a problem, not understanding something or whatever, my door is always open to them. And that's the relationship I want to continue with everybody in that office.
I haven't had a chance to talk with you much over the years, but when you came off a couple of shows, you're pretty easy to figure out. We talked about that off camera. It was an easy conversation that we had on camera. But I guess the easiest way for me to say it, doing this for so long, you could tell when someone's a politician and you could tell when someone is not. They just want to do their job. You got to honestly say, you come across as someone that's not a politician. You just want to do your job, and you felt you were qualified after 45 years and you were running for an office. Right. and now you got the job.
I got the job.
Be careful what you ask for, right?
Right. They always say, be careful what you ask for. But you know what? I am honored to serve as the next clerk. I really am. You know, all of the different departments that I've worked through, you know, throughout the years, and then being chief deputy under Miss Robichaux, it gave me both the outlook of all of the departments and the internal workings of that office. So basically on December 1st, when I take that oath, I am going to walk in and we're not going to miss a beat, you know, because we all know what we have to do, and let's continue on just providing the best customer service we can to everybody.
What did your husband say? What did your family say? What was going through their mind?
Well, you know, it's like my husband, bless his heart, has been like my sign crew director, okay? So he's kind of whooped right now, okay? Yeah. Right now as we speak, he's out there picking signs up, okay? And he's just been so supportive the whole way through. You know, my mom has been my biggest cheerleader. Yeah. You know, my kids have been right there beside me through this journey. And, you know, like I said, the office itself, they've all stood behind me and let's move this thing forward. You know, it's been the community when you go out in public, like, you know, we're voting for you, you know. And I laughed at Kevin. I said, if I had $1 for everybody that told me that in the last 3 months, I could retire right now, you know.
Well, you came pretty close with 75%.
You know, yeah.
Let's do this. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back. I'm going to chat with you as much as you want. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. This segment was brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights. All right, welcome back as we have Miss Jodie Burton. She will be the new clerk of court on December 1st. Right now, we'll call her the clerk of court-elect, but everybody's going to call you clerk of court. But what was it like with Teresa? And, you know, of course, you know me, I'm going to look at things and stay neutral, but I was reading everything, and Teresa was just so expressive throughout this thing, but what a vast amount of knowledge there that she brought to the plate. And
she did.
And how does it feel to have someone like that, you know, knowing that they have you back, but just the knowledge that goes with that?
You know, from the day Miss Robichaux asked me to come on as her chief deputy, you know, we kind of often compared it to like peanut butter and jelly. Yeah. We went well together. Yeah. She had strengths in the office. I had strengths in other areas. And together, we made like 200%. You know, it was just amazing because she learned from me what she was weak on. I learned from her what I was weak on. So the fit was just amazing. Yeah. She's so easy to work with. We're both the same in that we're OCD, you know, and we like things a certain way, and we like order, you know. But both of us have the same thing with customer service. That is paramount in our office. She has been so supportive since I made the decision to run for clerk. And she, like I did, she maintained like she was going to stay on the high road, but just stick to the facts and clarify the facts as they came out, because she felt as though it was important for her to defend her office that she had been leading. Well, you know, the campaign went through its different phases. You know, we ran a great, clean race. And I promised myself that on day one, that I was going to stay true to myself and run a good, clean campaign. I'm going to run on my experience in the office, and that would carry me through. And that's exactly what the voters saw in this race.
You told me that on the first show, first interview I did.
And I remain true to myself. Yeah. I will always run that office with the highest level of integrity, because you deserve that and the public deserves that.
I asked you to come on how many years ago?
Oh, it must have been about 5 or 6 years ago.
Now that you know it's so easy to come up here, now you could come up a lot, right?
Sure. Now it's easy. It's like having a conversation with an old friend.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's not as hard. I tell it to people all the time. They go, are we going to be live, or are we going to be taped, or what? I'm going, it doesn't matter. Let's just have a conversation.
That's right. When you asked me all those years ago, I said, I'm good, you know, kind of, you know.
But you do come across easy. And I'm sure people tell you that.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't carry any air about you.
No.
What
you see
you
is
don't
what
have
you
your
get.
nose and your pinky in the
Nope.
air.
No.
You're just one of those people that can relate to everything. What's the plan moving forward? Obviously, look, this is no slight at Teresa because she's done a wonderful job. But everybody wants to one up a little bit the person that was before them a little. I
Right.
don't care if you're sheriff, parish
Right.
president. You want to leave your mark.
Right.
What's going to be your mark?
First and foremost, I want to increase the availability to our online resources. We've gotten so far into this and we've done a remarkable line of progress there, but there's a lot more we can do. I want to expand those areas in these departments, putting more personnel in there to try and get more availability out there. I'd like to start maybe hosting some seminars on our online record search. About 2 weeks ago, I actually did a seminar at one of our local real estate companies, and they wanted just some insight as to our online searches, like when they're doing their work, how would it best make it easier for them, I guess. And, we showed them a few little tricks that if you don't know the system, and they were just amazed. I did it in conjunction with Miss Annette Fontana in Lafourche Parish. And like Annette said that day, both of these systems are good systems. They really are. It's just whatever works best for your own office fiscally. And that's another thing going forward. I will always have the preservation of our fiscal foundation first and foremost. We have worked too hard to bring this office to a stable point to go in reverse right now.
And that's the thing. Everybody in every organization, every department has to work within their means.
Right.
And until you're in there,
Right.
some people don't know what the means are.
Exactly.
And the means can change. Like I know what it takes to run a TV station.
Right.
But I have no idea what it takes to run the clerk of court's office.
Exactly. It's just, it changes. And I think we mentioned that in one of our prior conversations. The clerk's budget is just that. We self-generate our own fees. We don't rely on taxpayer money coming in. So you can call it a volatile situation because, look, anything can affect that budget. But get it to a point where you have a little safety net and you're going to be able to bypass those situations,
Yeah, you're financing your own office.
Exactly.
That's a little different situation when you're waiting for taxes to come in and you get funded and you might.
Right.
Yours is fluid.
It is.
So
it is.
Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll have another segment with you. Once again, Jodie Burton takes office on December 1st, and she will be the new clerk of court. We'll be right back. This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne Ford. Built Ford tough. All right, we are back and we're talking with the clerk of court-elect, Jodie Burton. She takes office December 1st, and I think I've always told you, it's such an easy interview. Just a laid-back conversation interview. So that's a compliment.
Thank you.
We get all kinds over
Thank
here,
you.
all kinds. Are you going to give Kevin a break?
I have to. Yeah, I think he's about done.
I mean, because your popularity is so high, but if you keep working Kevin the way you do, could see it drop. You're going to take it easy on Kevin.
I know.
He's got another job, doesn't he?
He does. He does. He does.
All right, let's talk about, budgets in the clerk of court's office. A lot of businesses, including us, we have to sell advertising and do things or else we don't survive. Y'all got to make money for yourself or y'all don't survive.
Right.
How are we looking now for people watching go, they keep talking about the budget. How are we doing in the budget?
The budget for the clerk's office today is solid. Years ago, when I first took over the position, we had to do some restructuring on our financial ins and outs. We renegotiated contracts. We got rid of some of these contracts that had been in effect for years and just stayed with the same vendor. I shopped around. We got a best bang for our buck. We reorganized the vendors we did want to keep, got better pricing on that. Everything that you can do to save money from flowing out brings more money in. It's been very tricky in those first few years to try and accomplish this, but by tightening our belts, we've accomplished so many different things in renegotiating all of these contracts and policies and what have you, to where today our office is fiscally sound. We do have that safety net to fall back on. We were always told that you should always have at least a 6-month safety net to be able to catch yourself in the event of a natural disaster. I'm happy to say we got about a year right now in reserve.
Wow. Well, that's good news.
So we've done well with that.
I was going to ask you about the transition. It seems to me the transition ought to be super smooth. I mean,
will be.
You know where everything is.
Yep.
You know where the folders are.
Right.
You know your boss. And I'm sure Teresa's probably said, come in and start getting ready. And if that hadn't happened because you just got elected, it will happen very soon.
Right.
Tell me about that transition.
The transition is going to be super smooth. For me, it's going to just be moving to the office next door, because I'm next door to Teresa now. And as far as the workload, the work that I'm doing today, overseeing the finances of that office, I will continue to do. I will be a working clerk in that respect on the finances, because I think every clerk should be fully aware of what's coming in and what's going out. It helps you to apportion money to different projects or a vision for new projects that you may want to get started in the process. Having that hands-on experience with that is key in the operation of fiscal responsibility.
Have you thought about who would take your place once you're there? Or are you gonna hold interviews and do different things?
I had to get to the finish line first. It's like I needed to focus on this campaign, and I gave this thing everything I had. In the next few months, I'm going to start doing some thinking on that. It'll be somebody that's going to be able to step into my shoes and take it from where I left it going forward. But I'm going to be working right alongside that person because I want to be fully aware of what's going on in that office.
For the general public, just real quick, a lot of people, who use y'all a lot, they know exactly what y'all do. But when we've often said the spotlight's not always put on your office because it's not something that where you get up on a podium and go, hey, clerk of court here,
Right.
But it's got to be strategic. It's got to be efficient. It's got to work, or else everything crumbles.
It will. And there's so many different responsibilities in the clerk's office. One of the most common questions I got on the campaign trail, what does a clerk actually do? People don't realize the vast responsibilities that a clerk of court's office actually oversees. I mean, they do everything from recording your land records when you buy and sell property. They cancel your mortgages. They file the maps that are done when the surveyors survey your property. They do civil suits and criminal suits, marriage licenses and passports, birth certificates, death certificates. It's such a variety of things. And each area has its own set of statutes that governs how it needs to be processed and the fees that are collected for that. All of these fees are governed by statute by the state legislature. So we can't just we're not going to charge this, we're going to charge this instead. Everything is mandated by statute.
I'll be bold. Without the clerk of court, parish fails.
It's the cornerstone of our judicial system. It really is. And the clerk has to have knowledge of every aspect of that office to lead that office and lead the employees that work in that office. There's no day that's like the day it was before. It's always something new happening.
Well, I assume now you'll come on a little more.
Yeah.
And but it was good having you on the first time and the second time, now the third time. And when you have something new, come up, tell the people about it. We appreciate you coming on. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And give Kevin the night off.
I might, yeah. But I just want to thank the voters. Our community has been absolutely incredible during this campaign, and I am humbled by their support.
All right. Jodie, congratulations. We'll see you at the swearing in.
All right.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. This segment was brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home.